Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. Up and at 'em. You know what day it is. Today is Monday, August 5th. The fair finally wound down Sunday up here. I remember going as a kid to the fair, and it seemed like it was so huge, and the boardwalk was seemed like miles. And the last 30, 40 years, that boardwalk got smaller, less rides. Not what I really. And I mean, when I used to go to the fair, we called them carnies, but they traveled with the fair, right? And most of them, they worked for the Hells Angels. They were tattooed everywhere. Now I'm looking at the booths as you walk by, and none of them have tattoos, very few of them, and they're well dressed. But the people walking up and down the aisles, the boardwalk, are literally tattoos. I'm not even allowed to get one little tattoo. I can get the one that you stick on, and after a while, it just fades away. Like you get the kids so they can have a tattoo. All right, so enough on that. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, my son helped me yesterday move hay, and we had a chance to have a nice conversation, just him and I catching up. And we got to talking about where our work is headed. And he said, that we've actually become parts replacers. He said that Claude used to kind of down talk a person that just looks at an issue and orders a new part, puts it on, and then kicks it out. But he said, aren't you guys doing that now? He said, no, we are at the Ford dealership. But hang tight. Hey, welcome back. My name is Eric, and yes, today is the 5th of August. This is the weekday show, Monday through Friday. Today's Monday, and it's available on podcast as well. All right, before I forget, the comments. I've been reading them, but trying to respond and do other stuff. I'm going to get those caught up. Don't think that I don't read what you say, because I do. I stay up to date. This morning I read everything from you, Randy, to Jason on the, you know, don't let your job take over your whole life with no hobbies and wait for retirement. Enjoy the journey, you know. And I kind of figured Jason was a fisherman. I kind of pegged you out, Jason. But I want you to also know that I'm not the only one that reads your comment. You have so much to offer this channel as well. You know, I've always had a main theme on this channel. This channel is more about you than it's about me. I may be quote unquote the host. I pick the topic and I start a conversation. But it's a one-sided conversation, right? It's just my take, my opinion, and I look forward to people disagreeing with something I said or do and a different way of doing it. Because, there's more than one way to do it, guys. And I can only teach so much, right? And I know like Jason and Travis are real mechanics. I just play one on TV, right? So I know that you guys can add stuff when it comes to actually how to do stuff. I'm not up here on this pulpit claiming that I'm the greatest mechanic out there or I'm the greatest TV host or any of that stuff. I'm up here saying I make a lot of mistakes. I learn from my mistakes. I'm self driven. I enjoy people. I enjoy relationships. And I enjoy doing what I do. Now, it'd be different if nobody ever listened or watched the videos. I mean, I could always chalk it up to, here, kids, when I pass away, here's a collection of things that you like to hear again. But getting back to the topic is, where is our industry headed? And, Claude's biggest beef over the years, has always been, well, they're not real mechanics. They're just parts replacers. And I bought that bill of goods early on, all right? And to a certain extent, my son would agree with him. He'd say, okay, we have a computer. We as techs, master techs, have to buy access to, we're working on new Fords and used Fords through a Ford dealership. We have to buy our own access to the Ford. And it's only for certain models. It doesn't cover all of them. And what he was saying that he would buy for certain models, and then one of the other master techs would buy for a certain number of models. And then like the one guy that my son really gets along well with, he's their diesel mechanic, so he buys all the diesel, for the Ford 250s and up that have the Power Strokes and all that. He buys the Ford access for that. And then the shop, since they do work on used vehicles as well, and that the owner buys a lot of the leased vehicles and brings them in, he supplies that computer. It's a Snap-on. And it'll cover all the other ones. But it's more than just simply plugging a computer in. I mean, it'll give you a direction to head, but you still have to chase somewhat. Where, with Claude, up until this year, I saw one with a CDI box on it. And my son said, yes, that's what's coming. And if you go to Napa has the program to be able to read those codes coming out on your lawnmower and diagnose what it is. And, my son was telling me, he said, most of the time he spends is reprogramming the computer. It's not the actual truck that's giving the problems, it's the computer. But he said, how do you do stuff now, Dad? He said, I'm not around the shop as much as I used to, but how do you do it now? He said, let's say a lawnmower comes in and it's got carburetor issues. What do you do? So, well, Claude, normally take the carburetor off and clean the orifices quick with the carb cleaner and put it back on. If it's still having issues, then he tells me he needs to do it, and I order a new one on eBay or Amazon. And why is that? Well, it's because labor. And we're half the going rate, but labor is still a stickler, all right? And that is, we charge $55 an hour for labor. And that's not what Claude gets paid. That has to help cover the expenses at the shop, the upkeep, everything. It all gets figured in. We're not making, $55 an hour profit. Not even close. And that's why the bigger shops are more, because they have more overhead, more employees to feed. But if it's a Briggs engine, if I go over to Briggs and I'm looking at their carburetor, OEM, 146. 146, it's worth the labor to tear that down. It could be just simply a dirty needle in the seat, could be a diaphragm with a pinhole in it, but it's worth putting gaskets in the needle and seat, doing a kit on it, and then putting it back in. But for $19.95, I can buy one on eBay or Amazon with free shipping and have it here within a couple days, just like the Briggs one. What direction do you go? And as I've said, cloud is slowing down, so we're, instead of tying up a lot of time in it, we just order the $20 carburetor and throw it on. Now, what I'm seeing more and more of, because we're doing more of that and less of the actual teardown and seeing where the issue is that a lot of these Chinese carburetors are coming through defective. Yep, defective. They don't work out of the box. They don't have any adjustments to it. And you think, well, it's got to be something else if this didn't take care of it. Not even close. It's the part. So when we run into that, we can either send it back and ask for a different one, or go back to plan A, which was tear the damn thing apart, kit it, put it back on, right? So basically, we have become parts replacers. Myself, when was the last time you guys did a complete engine overhaul on a lawnmower? I said at least 15 years. 12, 15 years. They said, why is that? I said, because of the cost of the parts and labor. The customer doesn't want to spend that much. He said, at the Ford dealership, if they have a Ford come in with a bad engine, he said they don't dick around with it. They pull it, kick it outside, order a brand new one shows up, they drop it in, put all the plugs, everything all back into it. Done. And why is that? Because he said it's cheaper. It's cheaper than paying a Master Tech to do a complete engine overhaul. And the other thing is not only the time it takes him to do it, it's the bay that is being tied up for long periods of time. He said, in a couple hours, they can yank an engine with the tools and the stuff they have and drop the hood back down and kick it outside. It's not taking up bay space, and they're still making money by moving the bread and butter through, which is basically, your service, inspections, brakes. That's where the money is being made at the dealerships. It's not the big jobs anymore, because it's cheaper to just drop in new. And he was saying that most of the time when the vehicles come in for something, it's simply plugging in his computer into the truck or car and reprogramming it, rebooting it, taking it back, and even have to, download a brand new version and have it delete the other one and come in. I was telling him, my truck, it's a 2021, and everything is run on computer in that damn thing, right? And I'll be driving along, and it's telling me when my next maintenance schedule is due. It's flashing it needs an oil change because I just passed the mark. And when I come to a stop, I'm getting ready to turn it off. It said, this vehicle needs to download the most current version. Click OK or no. This will take 5 minutes and you will not be able to start the vehicle. What? I mean, it's controlling everything. And I have the sensors in the front, sensors in the back, sensors on the side. And like you get in the hayfield with a little bit of tall grass, it drives me nuts because it slams the brakes on when I hit some taller grass. Because it thinks I'm backing off, I guess, the end of the road. No, I'm just in the hayfield. But I'm to the point of wishing for the good old days. Give me a 1975 GMC half ton, heavy half, standard shift on the column or floor, an engine you can work on. I don't care about electric windows, all the fancy doodads, just a plain Jane out the door. How about you? So, I want to start wrapping this up. So, what is your take on it? Do you feel like we're parts replacers, or how do you justify the labor rate of doing a complete teardown and putting it back together versus buying a new one on eBay or Amazon? I can see it if you're only buying it through, the OEM or an aftermarket company, because they're quite a bit more than what they're selling for through eBay and Amazon. But how do you justify it to yourself and then to the customer? So on that note, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you here bright early tomorrow morning. Thanks again for watching.